All right, welcome back everyone to another installment of our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reaction commentary series, the show that is made for the longtime S.H.I.E.L.D. fan that wants to come back on here and talk endlessly about one of our favorite shows of all time. I'm Alexis, of course, joined by David, our two big S.H.I.E.L.D. fans here. And we're now getting into already the 7th episode of this season 3. But really, when you think about it, and if you act as if the first part of season 3 is its own little season, then we're pretty much be getting toward the end here, basically, almost pretty soon. That's going to be interesting. So today we're going to be reacting to episode 7 called Chaos Theory, that was written by Lauren LaFranc and directed by David Solomon. This was broadcast on ABC Television Network on November 10th, 2015 to 3.49 million viewers. Returning our main cast, of course, we have Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Brett Dalton, Chloe Bennett, Ian DeCastro, Elizabeth Henstridge, Nick Blood, Adrian Palicki, Henry Simmons, and Luke Mitchell. And, of course, guest appearances by Powers Booth as Gideon Malik, Constance Zimmer as Rosalind Price, Juan Pablo Raba as Joey Gutierrez, Matthew Willig as Lash, and Blair Underwood as Andrew Garner. Of course, we're reeling from the revelation from last week that all this time it was Andrew all along when it came to being Lash. And yes, I think at this point by now, I think we have, and obviously throughout all of season 2, to just take a moment and kind of like re-examine where we are at. Recall that when we first started doing our reaction series and we're kind of like reading the old reviews when these old episodes were new episodes back when they first broadcast, how so much of the critical analysis was just that this was not good. And this was floundering, it was making all these mistakes. And now it's not universal, but I think for the most part, the people who we've been following along, whether it be Eric Goldman at IGN or Oliver Sav at AV Club, like they've thoroughly been enjoying the show and have been praising particular moments of it. So I think we've, at this point, when it comes to quality control, I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D's over-delivered and then some. But as you can tell, the ratings have just kind of stubbornly stayed where they're at. Like 3.49 million viewers. Now, that doesn't account for the overall audience. That's just what's recorded overnight. I do want to also remind people that S.H.I.E.L.D. consistently throughout its life at ABC was among the top, if not the single top, most viewers gained through in the 7-day plus DVR window, which would then bring its total viewership closer to that of like 5 or 6 million. Which makes for a significant difference at that point. Just to recap people as to where it is, that despite the fact that at this point the wind had changed and reviews were far more favorable, it was too little too late. And not that this is going to happen exactly with the MCU, but just to chime in on, like, David and I have been having a lot of conversations lately about where we're at with movies and, of course, comic book movies. At the time of this recording, Superman and Fantastic Four have not opened in theaters yet, but we're going to see these next few weeks be very pivotal to see where we're at. At the moment, Thunderbolts, the most recent MCU entry, severely underperformed, despite the fact that it was a pretty good movie. And unlike S.H.I.E.L.D., I have to say this, I don't want to make sure that I say this out loud 1,000 times for people in the back of the room. I don't care, but it needs to be said that, I mean, there are many people out there that would argue that there are many, many, many bad episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. David and I are among the people who would say they're kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are easily weaker episodes of the series, and I think we can have a conversation about and we have every season, what were the weakest episodes and what were some of the problems and storylines. But I don't think there has ever been a episode of this show that ever rivaled the lows of the MCU, which is to say There are many, many movies in the MCU canon that I would put well below even the weakest episode of this TV show. And why am I comparing it now? Because we've been having this conversation, and I'm making the point that at this point, S.H.I.E.L.D. in its third season that we're covering right now, it had more than turned the corner as far as like finding direction, finding vision, and just really also finding momentum and not letting it go. And despite all that, its reputation was set in stone. That was all she wrote. In fact, as the show would go on throughout its life, right now, this is November 2015, the last episode would air in August 2020, 5 years later after this episode aired, and the ratings only dropped year to year to year to year. But S.H.I.E.L.D.'s quality, as I just mentioned, they rallied and they did not let go. They did not relent. The MCU's quality speaks for itself, which is why I think they're in the position that they're in right now. And even when you turn it around and you're beginning to make good things again, you're beginning to have good stories out there and good movies, they're also just, you have to understand that if you wear thin on the audience's patience, and if a narrative has already set in, it can be very, very difficult to get people to re-engage, because at that point people have made up their minds about you, and that might very well be the reason why you will be done in the very end. I've mentioned before in the past that I have a background in education. One of the first things that they teach you is if you teach a student something wrong the first time around, it can, and if you say you correct it the second lesson, it can be very hard to unlearn something. So if, for example, if you are always if you're one of these people that like knows that you're in your head, you immediately seek to spell a word wrong or a math problem wrong, or you heard a term wrong, it's because you were taught wrong the first time and your brain could not unlearn it. It's stuck in there. And I think that can happen. I mean, the public at large are far more fickle. And I say this as just a warning for the people at Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, in which we don't know what the future will tell, but there may be no out. There may be no way out for them because of the hole they've dug themselves in. They could start making good movies again. And that isn't to say that their projects won't make any money. But I think there is a real fear right now in 2025, 10 years after this show had more than gotten its shit together, and has been rolling. 10 years later, here we are, and there is a real set of fear and dread and panic, I would even say, that has set in at Marvel Studios. And all I can say, being the petty bitch that I am, I think it's about time to pay up. Because I think it is pretty ironic that this show had literally had to fight for its life, fight to prove for its value every week for 7 years. And so many of those people who call themselves Marvel fans were like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sit down. You're not really part of the family. Get out of here. Now all of a sudden, here we are 10 years later, and the MCU is crumbling and collapsing as we speak. Again, I'm not saying there isn't any hope, but I think there is a reasonable situation in which it may be too late, and the era of the MCU is done for a couple of years. That isn't to say that, let's just say the next two Avengers films bomb creatively, and Feige is ousted or he steps down, that in the future that isn't to say that somebody at some point later on cannot come back and like rejuvenate it, because they got X-Men going on in the future, so that's most likely that will happen. But I will say, I think it would be like one of these momentous occasions of like, because, Kevin Feige for the 2010s was King Midas. He could do no wrong. And at every turn, he turned the other cheek when it came to this show. At every turn, the amount of opportunities he's had to extend an olive branch to people who love this show and never once did. Again, as a vindictive Shield fan, a self-described vindictive Shield fan, the bill comes due sooner or later. And I gotta say, at this moment, we're not sure still about what the quality of Fantastic Four is. We're very doubtful about what the Avengers films are going to look like, the next two that are coming out in 26 and 27. And there are already people whose patience are so worn thin. Right now in the interwebs, there are conversations happening about whether or not it is time for old King Midas to step aside. So I'm using the history of this show and the fact that it never could get people to come back. And I'm throwing out there the possibility that for maybe not everybody, I don't think everybody, but I think there are a lot of Marvel fans out there that even if you show, let's just say you have 3 or 4 Thunderbolts in a row, they'll slowly come back. But I'm talking about more so normie audiences. The people who were swept up in the MCU hysteria that were not comic fans, not necessarily genre fans, but wanted to be a part of the conversation. Now we're in an era in which so many of that specific demographic have dropped off and have stopped caring. And we may be seriously looking at a dynamic in which they no longer are returnable. They no longer are, or I guess, gettable again in the situation. I didn't come to start this show prepared to say this. It's just something that kind of popped into my head as I was just like making these comparisons. David, do you think that? Because I know that I feel like everybody who watches us are also MCU fans. I don't know where they stand on it, but I think the overall mood is that there was very much a peak, and right now there has been a significant drop off. I mean, you and I have been having discussions on our show on Red Spotlight about how there are these people who seemingly are convinced that, the fall of Pixar, the collapse of Pixar, please, the collapse of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is a true and clear decline and collapse if there ever has been one. And you know what also isn't helping? There seemingly, at this moment in time, is somebody else to take the torch away. And that is called DC.
Mm-hmm.
Who, if that is what's happening, may I say, it's about time.
Yeah.
And I say this as somebody who is a fan of just films and comic book movies in general. I can't even begin to think about what self-described DC fans may be feeling right now about just the idea that maybe finally, at long last, this is their time in the spotlight, after just having a spotty at best studio where you can have maybe a gourmet meal or you can get food poisoning the next turn. Like, it is that the legacy of the DCEU, ushered in by Zack Snyder and the Warner Brother executives, I think, will forever live in infamy. David, if you have any thoughts on this, I think overall, generally, you kind of see things how I do as far as where we are right now. But I think it is an interesting time because, again, this is a TV show that existed right as, all of these other comic book properties on the big screen and the small screen were getting off the runway. And I think S.H.I.E.L.D. Has its place in that era, despite the fact that there are those that would seek to belittle it and dismiss it and act as if it never even existed. It very much had its space, And as I've said from the first time that we did this reaction series, it will continue to live on for many reasons. But one of the main reasons is because it wasn't necessarily too beholden to the universe itself. It added to a cinematic universe, but it was and forever will be its own thing. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and is not dependent on you to be attached to anything else. And the fact that also, too, that it is a genre show that shows off the best of what TV could be. Also now, where we are all in a decade, in a new era, where even the best of genre shows couldn't even hope to compete or compare themselves with S.H.I.E.L.D. because the model that they use for S.H.I.E.L.D. is now outdated and just... And as we say, because it is outdated, that is the reason why so many of these other shows just cannot be anywhere near as good. So I just think all of this just is further continuing the legacy of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is what we're primarily here to talk about. But if you have thoughts on any of the things that I just said, I know I mentioned I didn't come here to begin with a sermon on like where we are with the MCU. But I'm always here to be petty, and I'm always here to suggest perhaps there's vengeance coming along the way. Your thoughts on this, David? Just between the correlations of like, because on the main comparison of like, well, if it was too late for S.H.I.E.L.D. and they could never get those people back, maybe we're at a time where Marvel has gotten one too many bombs and they've turned enough people off, or even if they begin to get good again, it may not be enough.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I agree with everything that you just said for sure. S.H.I.E.L.D. is gonna be memorable for a long, long time because, as we mentioned, like in every single episode, where it's just like long-running shows, long-form shows. We really miss it. I really miss it. Like I want those back, for sure on like other series. But the thing though is, because of streaming now, it's all 10 episodes or less. That's all they want, and it just really sucks that you never know there's going to be a guarantee of a next season. Me as a fan of the Percy Jackson books got really lucky recently with them renewing season 2, but then also before even releasing the second season, they renewed it for a third season. So like, wow, that's really fun. Thing though still is my complaint, which I mentioned when the first season came out. It's like, this needs to be 10 episodes. Fuck the 8 episodes thing. You're shortening it. We like this franchise because of the characters. Give us more of the characters. And this is S.H.I.E.L.D. is something that we love. That's one thing that we love about S.H.I.E.L.D. is the characters themselves. Yeah. They made them their own, and that's another reason why it's going to, be loved for a long, long time. It's in a time where you really can't go. It really is sort of like a time capsule of the whole entire MCU run, where like you reach where I would say 4th season is my favorite season, and that's where right around the time where you see like the peak of the MCU, and they somehow, I don't know. Whose idea was it to just give them more stuff to work with in the show where they got Ghost Rider in and all that. So
it was their ideas. In fact, as we mentioned before, they had all the ideas. There were many ideas that were shot down by Marvel executives, like on the fly. Clark Gregg has spoken to this himself, where they had already settled on the names of certain, let's just say, characters or just ideas in the comics that they were going to shoot. The day of, a Marvel executive comes to the door and says, "Oh no, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that." So it's like they have. It seems to me that they've had a lot of. They were going for it from the very beginning. It's just that they kept getting shot down.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they even got Ghost Rider, which that in and of itself, you would think, to me, when Ghost Rider got in, that was the last hope for it's like, okay, this is a big character. People love it. I think this is exactly what they needed to get people back interested in the show again. And they watched it for like one episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then God bless John Schnepp. I love John Schnepp, R.I.P. I wish he were here today. God, I really would. Among all the people who I've seen give like Superman reviews, imagine what a John Schnepp review would have looked like for Superman. I miss that man. I love him to death, but That isn't to say I wouldn't be critical. And even that bitch was like, I remember on Collider Heroes or whatever, he would be like, yeah, the first episode was good. I just wish this shield stuff wasn't in the way of this Ghost Rider show. So it's like, you see, it's like, even with that, like, you weren't going to get people back at that point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus, man. But you are correct to point that out, that if we should, track the history of the show, 2013 to 2020, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. debuted the year of Iron Man 3. It was right after Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 was like in May, and then in September of that same year was S.H.I.E.L.D. And then it went past Endgame. I think Endgame and Far From Home. I think Far From Home was 2019, and then in 2020 was the last season. And I think that's actually, like, based on all indication, that was the closing of a chapter. Because then the new era began with WandaVision, and which we should say, WandaVision's kind of incredible, amazing. I love WandaVision, and it was like, I think to this day, maybe the best thing they did in the whole after Endgame. Like,
yeah.
And I know this is not the, I think maybe it is. Who knows? Because we don't talk about Marvel too much as far as, like, in my mind, I think of, like, okay, all of this really could have been prevented if there was any bit of thought put into, like, what to do after the fact. I think a lot of executives, again, as I mentioned, they're just not very smart people. They should have just seen it coming that Endgame was just too good of an ending, that it closed off a lot of storylines. Like, that's really what it is. And I'm not saying that it was not possible to continue going forward. But what came after was just a mess of incoherence. Mm-hmm. And also, more importantly, I would say, a complete collapse in quality. I think we would, even if things were not connected and they were never going to be quote unquote connected, I never needed that. I just needed things to be good. Mm-hmm. And the problem is every single, oh God, this bullshit. Sorry, I don't know why this happens. Anyway, I guess it's an allegory for the MCU going bang or whatever, but it really is kind of where we are. Like, what happened is all of the projects, whether it be the Disney Plus or the movies, they were all suffering from the similar problems. And it just got tiring. Every single time that you were going to watch a Marvel thing, whether it be on Disney Plus or on the big screen, each and every one of those, they would not all be of the same quality, but they would all kind of suffer from the similar problems. And it all came back to production. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the whole thing fell apart. And I argue, more than anything, that's what happened and that's what went wrong. Mm-hmm. And they just got too full of themselves. They got too cocky and too incompetent, honestly, at what they were doing. And then they kind of, like, it snowballed and they all have egg on their face. Ultimately, that's what happened. But I will say, despite all of that, for me, as an MCU fan, what are the things that I've held on to as, like, epilogues? Well, of course, the last season of S.H.I.E.L.D., Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, is a good epilogue on that one. Things that just closed the book completely on other characters that were lingering. And even Thor Love and Thunder, while not all that good, ultimately has, like, it serves as another epilogue for that character. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I think truly, after we got past Guardians 3, I think that was like, well, I'm out of here, guys. You do your thing. But as far as I'm concerned, all the characters I had left that I cared about, story's over. Mm-hmm. I'm out.
Yeah.
And noticed how after Guardians 3, that's when we began to see a serious decline in attendance and a decline in box office and so on and so forth. And I think it also, that in and of itself speaks to the failure in them being able to set up new characters. Even T'Challa. I mean, I still think they probably shouldn't have killed off T'Challa. I mean, I know it would have been awful to recast Boseman, but I think they kind of killed that franchise. I just don't know what interest is in Black Panther anymore, personally. I mean...
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, the Black Panther thing is just... It's a tough situation, honestly, because I mentioned this in our review of it, but, like, you know, after the movie came out, people were like, you should have recast it. But it's like, hey, look, at the time, it's a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and I hated the excuses people were making where they're like, oh, they should have recast it. I mean, they recasted the guy who played Dumbledore in Harry Potter. Dumbledore's not the main fucking
Not
character.
the same thing.
He's not the main character. Would you have said the same thing with Daniel Radcliffe if that kid had died and after the first movie? It's like that would have been weird. I think you would. I don't know. They might have stopped that maybe, but it's a whole different situation. And not only because people love Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, but people just love Chadwick Boseman in general. Like, it truly was a heartbreaking thing when he passed away. Just, I mean, you had your reaction on the podcast at the time. You know, you were. I think Kyle was like leaving the room for a second, and all of a sudden you just cut to it. And you just go, "What the fuck is this?" You know?
Yeah, we were. We recorded it live. I mean, like the announcement of his death literally dropped in the middle of one of our shows, and we were all like,
"Yeah, it was just horrible."
So,
and then
I get yes, go ahead, David.
I was gonna say, as to what the heck happened with the MCU after Endgame. I mean, I think whether you want to say it's just like a lack of creativity or incompetence or something, I don't know. It just kind of sucks that when they had WandaVision coming out, I feel like he had the perfect, like everything else should just write itself. Where like, okay, you were going to make her, the Darkhold corrupts her, cool. Make her the next Avengers villain, but like she is your Loki in that situation, and then you go off from there. And you know, before Thunderbolts came out, you know, we had a podcast where we were just kind of spitting off like, okay, what should they have done in the next Avengers movie? And we kind of came to the conclusion of just, okay, whoever is on Earth, that's your Avengers right there, and they just stick to them. And then maybe the ones that are in outer space, they can have their own Avengers movie, and that can be the second one. And then the third one, they come together for whatever big bad is coming and all that. But you don't set up the big bad right away. You don't freaking set up Kang from the very beginning. That's, that right there with Kang specifically, that was overconfidence on their part, because like I don't blame them for not knowing what the fuck was gonna happen with that actor, but you still, you didn't have that problem with Thanos.
That for real. Look, there are a long list of things that they like. You can make an argument that all their plans, quote unquote, blew up in their face. Mm-hmm. But that also, just I think, like reveals the Emperor has no clothes, in that their instincts are kind of shit now, and they don't really know what they're doing. Remember, they thought Quantumania was going to be their next big movie. They believed in that movie. And this is why I say, and I have been saying on the show for weeks now, movie executives are sometimes not the smartest people in the room. One thing I didn't realize, David, and I didn't share it with you, because I wasn't following Lightyear at all when it was coming out. I mean, I watched it, but I wasn't following it closely. Apparently, they had shown the first something minutes at CinemaCon, which is what they do usually all the time with Pixar films. They get the first 30 minutes and they play it. Did you know that so many of the people who were at CinemaCon, who were owners of theaters, like exhibitors and executives, they thought to themselves, oh my God, this is going to be Pixar's next big hit. How does this happen all the time? Like they legit, like you don't have to like look into so many examples of them just like falling down the rabbit hole of going down there. They just picked the wrong horse. They thought Lightyear was going to be their next big hit, and nobody cared. Like, again, everybody wants to speak about, like, we cannot allow ourselves to forget the truly legendary, disastrous marketing campaign of Lightyear. But okay, fine. The point is, even when they've realized they've messed up, they still continue to trip over themselves. Which, I mean, Dr. Doom thing, that announcement of RDJ, which we, of course, did a podcast on that, that was the jumping the shark moment, whereas we called the jumping the Stark. That was the moment where I think a lot of people just realized, oh my God, you do not know what the fuck you're doing. And then they continue to trip over themselves, because even from people who watched Thunderbolts, you know how like for a couple of weeks there, they were remarketing the movie as the new Avengers. Yeah, that didn't stick. That also blew up in their face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it gives the impression of like, as if like Kevin Feige is legitimately Valentina from Thunderbolts, where she is just like making it up as she goes along. She is like jumping from power player to power player, just like waffling to stay in any kind of power. That's that. Valentina's arc in Thunderbolts, hilariously, is what Kevin Feige is right now in real life. Just like trying the best he can to go from thing to thing. And they better hope Fantastic Four is good. Anyway, my overall question to you: do you think though, whether or not these future projects are any good, is the cake baked in? Is it done?
It's just there's just too much to say about that, because Peter mentioned it. It's like as soon as they bring out their X-Men, you know, the hype chain is gonna go up again, which I can believe that. But then also too,
I believe that. But would Kevin Feige be around for that though? Because that they're gonna bring in X-Men. That's gonna happen. But that doesn't at all correlate. Whether or not Avengers succeeds or fails, there's X-Men are the next thing that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's gonna happen. The question is Feige gonna stick around for that? Does he get to stick around for that?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Honestly, if he left, I think that might bring up the hype again. Let's see who else comes in. Because at this point, it's just like
I'm gonna say it though, David. I don't want to take it away from you, but I want to say this. Look, I really do think Kevin Feige would have been better off if he knew the value he had with the talent that he had with this show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
If he had reassembled all of the departments and the showrunners and the writers and all of the producers to run the TV division.
And it's so
now if he stayed out of the way, but he seemed insistent on being the one in control of everything. And that's the thing. It's like, when you do that, when you stick your finger in everything and you make all the decisions, there is no one else to blame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's so weird too, because everyone really thought, oh yeah, Young Avengers is going to be a Disney Plus thing. And that's what they're going to build up to within Disney Plus. I don't think it's just not going to happen anymore. Yeah, I think they bailed.
Yeah, no.
And had, these writers from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had stuck, to making that, oh my gosh, you had a gold mine right there, man. You would have been running Disney Plus. They would have gone to you being like, what else? What other ideas do you have? Not MCU stuff or anything like that. Like, dude, come on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. And what comes around goes around, my friends and my fellow S.H.I.E.L.D. stans who are watching right now. Very clearly, this cinematic universe wants nothing to do with us. Okay. Well, don't mind us while we get our popcorn ready and watch the fire burn from the sidelines. Especially when it doesn't involve us at all whatsoever. So, there it is. Sorry for the 30-minute rant, guys. That was not at all planned. It just like it. I vomited out, and that's kind of where we're at. David, do we have any comments from last week's episode?
Yeah,
because we are here talking about S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah. First one's from Serenity. We on the last week's episode, when you were reading comments, there was this one joke someone was saying about like, what was it? The guy playing Lash is like not black anymore or something like that. I don't know. We were very confused by the joke that they were trying to say, but Serenity was trying to like explain it to us. Basically, like Lash has bluish skin tone, so that's what that means. So that's the.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it was a joke about how how people were complaining that they were killing off their black characters.
Yes.
And so
yes,
they were trying to be like, oh, see, like they're not killing off their black characters anymore because he's not black. I don't know. It was weird. I don't know. It went over our heads. Didn't work for us. Oh well. But Serenity also commented, I don't know how you interpreted me defending parts of Chib's era as me being some diehard Chib's era fangirl. I do love Jodie as a doctor. I am not. Ironically, I was in the Funked trenches defending Capaldi's era from the get-go. You can go back a decade and see my tweets. Like I was a fan of his prior to him being announced as a doctor. Moffat is my favorite writer and showrunner, and Clara is my favorite companion. Agreed. Ever. No one will or could surpass her. And yes, the 60th anniversary specials were great. Tennant and Tate have always been magical together, which is what made RTD2 so disappointing. RTD2. I don't know. I always laugh at that.
RTD, like it's a Russell T Davis, so RTD2.
Yeah,
RTD2.
Like
which is so weird because I want to say R2D2. But
yeah,
it's RTD2, which is
I was so excited for it in Shooty. Eric was my favorite character in SE. In the end, in SE. In the end, I came away from these last two series liking maybe 5 episodes, and even they had issues. I also wound up being so impressed by Millie as Ruby. Truly bright spot in this mess. But anyways, just funny. You would assume that my slight defense on Chib's era is some bigger statement about where I land in the Who fandom.
It would appear that I stand corrected, Serenity. I apologize for that. I didn't mean for that to come across as like... But look, the reality is I do come across a lot of comments that are defensive, that come across as defensive for the Chibnall era. I have my issues with it, but I certainly didn't even want to suggest the idea that if people are fans of Chibnall, that they'd no longer continue to be because of whatever I say, of course. And from what has been clearly laid out, it would appear that we basically agree.
Yeah.
Just about everything. Because, I mean, that's just kind of like literally all of those highlights, like what made you like Doctor Who so much is what makes me like Doctor Who so much. So it's like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember how it was worded.
Yeah.
The last time, I mean, it's just so long ago at this point, like when we record these shows. So it's like, forgive me if they came across as like aggressive in that sense directly to you. That was not my intention. There probably was a sense of aggression toward Chibnall defenders in general. It's just generally how I am with that kind of thing. But it would seem I have to always acknowledge the cred of a fellow Capaldi defender that was in the trenches when it was airing, especially when so many people turned their backs on us now, didn't they? So look, all credit where credit is due. I stand corrected. And yeah, Doctor Who's great.
Yeah.
I love talking about Doctor Who whenever we get the chance to bring it up here. And I don't know. I've always found that Doctor Who and S.H.I.E.L.D. had, like, they were kind of cousins in a way. They kind of inhabit the same kind of, like, genre space.
Yeah.
And I think to me, they have things in common in which, like, so many of the things that they're talking about are such gobbledygook, and yet, through the showcase of their characters, they just win you over so much. And good God, are both shows, like, just really, really, like, good at selling you with characters that you become so emotional about. So, yeah.
That one's from Silva. Just wanted to say it's always fun to hang out with you two. My favorite aspect of season 3 are the villains. Powers Booth is just awesome, and his connection to the Avengers film was just great frosting. His chemistry with Brett Dalton is top notch throughout the season in many different situations. Now we see Lash is Andrew in another great reveal. It was fun watching Blair Underwood embrace his villain energy in this arc. For sure. Yeah, that's
cool.
all.
All right. let's see where this goes. Let's go ahead and jump into our episode. This is Chaos Theory.
On Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Some kind of suspension gel?
It keeps them in stasis.
So if memory serves correctly, this is what we would consider to be a May-heavy episode.
I tried to do what Ward wanted.
And man, those are always rough. I really feel bad for May. But I mean, again, like, as good as this show is as far as like fucking with Fitz and Simmons, this show is also very good at fucking with May. Because this is horrific. Like, here we are. This is like in between seasons 2 and 3. God, what a beautiful shot. Like, that looks like they're actually on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they actually are, but like that looks really good. Maybe they went somewhere in San Diego.
Yeah, I think it's a real beach.
Sun hitting you like that?
Yeah.
Wanted to thank you for sending over Zhang's things from Afterlife. Oh, God.
This is really messed up.
Yeah. But I like how it was for that reason that he turned. It wasn't because he ate some fish or he took the pills.
The ATC is looking for a cure. I'm not suggesting that's for everyone because it's not, but some people might want to.
We are not a disease.
I didn't say that you were.
You can't just expect people to go through that kind of change and immediately have a handle on it. Do you remember how scared I was at first?
Yes, I also remember you iced yourself so that you wouldn't hurt any of us. You got to admit, things are getting out of hand.
I know.
People are changing in uncontrolled environments.
I know, but everyone deserves a chance to be who they are.
That's where you're wrong.
Mentioning it over and over again. The dialogue is so freaking good. You don't.
I mean, I'm so sucked into this right now.
I was
It's
trying to like decide when to stop, but like, or when to start talking, but it was just so good. Like, you don't get these kinds of conversations in the movies. They never bring up like, I don't think it's ever brought up like the consequences of what any of these heroes do. The new what's it called, Ironheart show came out. I did not see it, and I don't want to, sadly. But
I forgot it existed.
yeah, but like, you know, I was listening to some breakdown of it, and the whole time I keep thinking like, how could you have made this character somewhat interesting? And I'm like, wouldn't it have been? Well, sorry, I should bring up. People were complaining about Riri Williams' character and about how could she be this, like, how can anyone be this smart or something like that? Or, you know, I hate that someone could be this smart enough to build a Iron Man suit of their own, like, right away. And I find that to be a ridiculous answer. But
it's my phone. I had it with me. I took pictures, made some recordings to document my time there. It's quite damaged, but I kept it on me as a remembrance. I was hoping you could
recover the data.
It's probably pointless.
Yeah, no, maybe not.
Let's just say someone tries to figure out a way around that complaint. And I was thinking, what if we just get like a shot or a scene of a whole bunch of people making their own Iron Man suits? But it's all different. You know, one person was able to like build a suit that they can fly, but just that. And then someone is able to build a suit, but they're just able to lift cars, you know, and all kinds of stuff. And then and it's not because like, oh, everyone's just smart now within this world. It's like, no, Iron Man inspired so many people to want to build their own suit, to be, you know, create something amazing just like him or something like that. And I'm like, dang, that would have been so awesome if you did that with Ironheart, where it's just like, you have a reason why she wants to build her own Iron Man suit and not just because she wants to copy Iron Man. And we don't get those kinds of consequences within the MCU, but you're getting this where, yeah, the Inhuman stuff is never brought up within the MCU and all that, but like, at the very least, though, they brought up something that is insanely massive within the universe, and they're dealing with the consequences of it. And it's great, and I love it. Like, I have zero complaints about about their dialogue.
Monster.
Yeah. Big ugly thing, likes to kill other Inhumans.
You've been tracking him.
Trying. Transforms into a man, which makes him impossible to find.
No, I think this right here is a really good showcase. A masterful example of how they were able to set so many. They set up the whole episode and they weaved in the current like drama and tension with, you know, Andrew being revealed to be Lash, and of course they're immediately talking about what we saw last episode, Coulson and Daisy's back and forth between the gel matrix cubes that the ATCU is using, how Daisy's just like not at all in favor of it. And then, of course, Coulson bringing up something from the past season where she iced herself to keep everybody else safe. I mean, and I think it's a combination of like sharp writing. The actors are just like delivering it the way that it should be. And the blocking, as we're not just standing still, we're like moving all throughout the set. And then also how it's shot. I don't know if you've noticed it, but so far I love how this episode is shot, or who is directing it, because as far as how they're moving the camera. So far what we saw was Andrew kind of like being framed at the center and then kind of like not be lit up, but kind of like a little bit be consumed by the shadows. It's like kind of like this, great white shark that's kind of like making its way up to the base. Even after they had that discussion in the office as he was coming back down the stairs, and then he sees off in the distance or close by Mac on the phone with somebody. He's talking to Lincoln, by the way, but right now we don't know that. And it's something that we're meant to remember, but by the time we come back to it, we forget completely because so much is happening and so much went on. I just think like you're so right. Even this, even this, like I remember when I saw it, I'm like, oh shit, I thought like he legit just killed Joey then and there, and then it was just like a vision in his head. But I'm like, this is why this show is so good, because like they went through so much exposition. And they went through so many things that, when you would read to a person who doesn't know their show, they'd be like, what did they say? But they made you buy it. You bought it. Mm-hmm. That's how good they are. Like, everything right now is really working together. And by the way, it is moving. Yeah. Like, I mean, in the time that we've been like trying to gush about those first 5 minutes, like we're already like, we moved past the whole Andrew thing, and we've already moved past May. There's this beautiful shot of like of the camera just like lingering and kind of like, panning around May to kind of absorb the shock of what's going on. And then we even glide past when Bobby mentioned the fact that they had been chasing this monster, and she's like, what monster? And then she's beginning to put the pieces together about like what that's going to mean. Mm-hmm. And then now we're here with Bobby and Hunter. We get a chance to catch up. But I mean, it is kind of ridiculous how good the show is in that there are so many players. There are so many characters to get to and storylines to feel as if you're getting caught up every single week. And yet they have been able to do that this entire time. And they're getting better at it. I feel like, Season 3's ensemble is not as big as Season 2's ensemble. But it's still a pretty sizable one. And I also I don't know if you get this, but I feel like with Season 2 at this point, what we mainly had going on, everything was revolving around Shield versus Hydra, and then Inhumans was like in the distance. That was mainly what it was all kind of coming around to. Here we've got the ATCU, we've got the Inhumans, we've got Lash, we've got Simmons on this alien planet in Maveth, and then we also have several players lingering in the background with Hydra. It feels much like a lot more is going on as far as, and all of it affecting these characters in different ways too. Mm-hmm. Not that there was like that much homogeneity when it came to the main cast in Season 2A, but as far as Season 3A is concerned, it feels like so much is going on, and yet like...
Where's the tour begin?
That's actually up to Daisy. She's gonna show you around.
It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel shortchanged. This right here, Rosalind Price, what an incredible addition to the cast, and how quickly they were able to establish a romantic pairing between her and Coulson. Like, she feels like a fully fledged character in just a couple of episodes, and their dynamic with each other is just so incredible. And that isn't even getting at all to get to the Fitzsimmons of it all, because I really do think at this point, Simmons and Fitz have been topping themselves as far as like not just each actor's individual performance, but just like what each character has been able to be capable of. And then right here, we're going to see Fitz. Even this is going to be a painful ordeal for him to go through. He's going to be able to go and watch all of the messages that Gemma had recorded. And this is 2 moons, bloody hell. I mean, just even that. I cannot believe we went through how many years of people telling us and gaslighting us that this show was bad.
or that like
when literally
nothing happens, nothing important happens, but it's like, dude, everything happens within this show that should have happened within the MCU. They set up Inhumans so perfectly, and in one little scene with Miss Marvel, it completely backtracks not only just like the Inhuman stuff, but like completely ruined the whole X-Men stuff for us, where we were just like, what the fuck did you do? What you just did makes no sense. What the hell? But yeah, we blew through so many things. I actually do love when Fitz starts listening through all the recordings and pictures that she made and all that. It's really, really good.
Honestly, as a construction guy,
and it gives us a good human moment for him, because it reassures us that yes, it is getting to him, and it is a sucky situation, and he's feeling it. And it gives us a moment to finally see him be frustrated in like he went through so much. He went through so much to like finally get to the point of asking her out, and then she's whisked away, and then she falls in love with somebody else. Like that would irk any person. And then look how quickly this is moving. We're already here.
thanks for coming.
You can settle down. No one knows we're here.
Oh yeah, Lincoln's in the show.
Yeah.
It's been around in a couple of weeks, but here he is.
You getting any sleep?
I started watching a show called Blind Spotting, I think.
Blind Spotting?
And I'm on the second season of it, and he's in it. The guy who plays Lincoln is on it, who playing another character who is unhinged and crazy and a bit of an anger issue.
Man.
I'm like, oh my god, dude.
Luke Mitchell, yeah.
At least in that show, though, it makes like a whole lot more sense why he's like that. And so,
Okay, I'm not sure I'm following.
Lash is in S.H.I.E.L.D. And with your help, I can prove it.
I appreciate you showing me around like this.
I also love the way he figured out who Lash was. Oh,
yeah. This scene here is really good, by the way, because it also gets into things that even the MCU didn't really do much with.
But now people are their own weapon.
Not everyone is like
Some is enough. That's all it takes.
You only see the terrible things.
That's not true.
I protect people.
It doesn't matter.
How can you say that?
Because for every Daisy Johnson, there's a Lash. And it's ignorant for you to think otherwise.
and again, what makes it so good is just like they're both right. They're both right in the
Yes, they
situation.
are right.
Your blood work was deleted.
Maybe Simmons
You
accidentally...
thought you covered your tracks, but you didn't.
Melinda, honestly, what are you getting?
That Von Strucker kid was alive.
No,
That oh shit look on his face.
He's like, oh man. But also too, like I love the way her and Lincoln figured it out. Hers is just like, standard stuff that she probably would have looked into within any S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. But Lincoln, though, I love the fact that they set up that he had all of Jiang's stuff with him, and Lincoln figured that out, that you guys sent it to him, and he had all, and Jiang had all of the whereabouts of every other Inhuman that like left after life.
It even happens.
Melinda, stop.
Andrew, please, please.
There's also like the most emotional, I think, that we've seen May.
Hold on. This is one of my favorite scenes right here. Just like listening to
Quite a strange feeling, isn't it? Never wanting to be without someone. You must have been so annoyed me following you around all the time.
No. Never.
I imagine our dinner sometimes, where we'd go, what we'd eat. There's a small cottage in Persia we drove by once when I was a girl. Some family holiday, and I don't know why, but
Which I think that's where they live at the end of the show.
Mm.
I still think about it. A place where you and I could have... But that's that, I suppose.
No notes.
Yeah,
No notes. That
that's
was
so good.
What I like about what was revealed there is like when she was on Mavith, and she was saying, I've been thinking, been wondering about us a lot lately, and she revealed that she would like follow him a lot when they were in school together.
You don't know
And I feel like
how many times I almost told you. I didn't know how.
for however as much as Fitz didn't see how much he loved Simmons until I think toward the end of season 1. I think the reality is I think both Fitz and Simmons were kind of oblivious, and yet at the same time knew they were into each other, but they just didn't really want to like admit it. So it's like a lot of season 2 Simmons, like, well, I never thought of Fitz that way. And then maybe when she was on Mobith, she was like, maybe I did.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Which is, I think, a nice bit of continuity there, like, you know, about their relationship.
Daisy's mom kept records. I was going through them for any insight, for research. And I found a book. It had all these names of Inhumans. Now, Jiaying must have rigged it with a Terrigen crystal to keep out anyone who couldn't survive the mist.
Which, in a weird way, if you think to yourself, this Lash, later this season, ends up saving Daisy from Hive. And Lash would not exist, ironically, without Jiaying having planted that Terrigen crystal into the records. So it's kind of interesting how, in a very indirect way, Jiaying helped save Daisy's life.
Well, it's a weird coincidence all around, because it's like she set up the trap for someone who isn't an Inhuman, would possibly die. But it was towards an Inhuman. She was hoping probably that, like, hey, you're one of us, help us if you have this information. But it just happens to be the person who transforms into someone that has like a need to kill Inhumans. So it's like, what the hell?
Well, it can feel like a coincidence, but as Lincoln will tell us in a couple of episodes, this is an intelligent design that responds to evolution and the surroundings that are happening. Everybody who transforms and has powers are given that power as a direct response to what's happening. So it is a true intelligent design. So like, yes, like what are the chances that happens? That's not what at all Jiaying intended. That's not what I'm saying, that like, not that you're saying that, I'm saying that.
No.
I'm not saying that she was helping her out indirectly. It was like a coincidence that she ended up helping out her daughter through Lash and everything.
Could be as simple as a workplace romance gone wrong.
This is the first time we've seen Coulson in a suit in all season?
I think you're in the middle of telling me what great friends you and Daisy are now.
I may have overstepped, but one thing's for certain, that girl's got fire.
We've got so many great scenes this episode, man. Like everything with Andrew. I know Andrew and May are Fitzsimmons.
Oh, look, actually, it's been a while, though.
May I?
This is a new look to her because she's never seen him in a suit.
Sure.
Again, any chance to bring up costume design, because that also matters too.
Yeah.
But it's also important to look ahead. See what's in front of you.
Daisy! Come on! It was good. Oh.
Lincoln gave me names. I checked them against the bodies we could identify.
That's how I knew Lash was using Jiaying's ledger to find us.
Her ledger?
She kept the genealogy of Inhumans. She was the only one allowed to use it.
That look she just gave of like, wow, I am missing so much. What the hell?
Yeah.
There's no way. It's not possible.
I didn't want to believe it either.
So you're not just saying Andrew has the ledger, you're saying...
See, even this scene, how all these pieces kind of came together in this instance, just so effortless.
It's so good. And like, we're just moving to the next plot. We're going to move on to the next action bit. You're like, oh my God, I missed this. God.
Saw it myself.
No, what I'm saying is it's temporary.
And then this bomb dropping.
Between monster and man. He's still in transition. Becoming inhuman.
And when that transition's complete?
He'll stay Lash. Permanently.
One room, a stupid futon for a bed, and that winter when it got so cold we...
Use the oven as our heater.
Not the safest way to keep warm, but...
I would be too scared to do that. Using the oven to heat up the apartment?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's how fires, lots of fires start.
Yeah.
Please don't give up on me.
Sorry to interrupt.
This is the second couple that's been interrupted. Come on, a bunch of cock blockers. Come on, it wasn't even 5 minutes ago.
But I am trying to help you. We've got an outbreak on our hands.
What the hell does he mean by that?
He doesn't know yet.
I'm simply trying to sort the good from the bad. You gave me this job.
It's a pretty poor interpretation of a therapist.
It's a pretty poor interpretation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
I've only killed those who deserve it.
Mr. Hothead over here.
Made you judge, jury, and execution.
Which, I mean, in this instance, I get him being pissed. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, who the hell made you judge, jury, and executioner? Like, he killed all of his friends.
Yeah, that should have been Coulson's reaction. Like, I did not give you this fucking job, my guy. What the hell? Yeah, but, like, yeah, he was doing the right thing and trying to stay calm in the situation. But it was great. But everything leading up to this moment, like, it all makes sense, man. Kamehameha.
Oh, Kamehameha?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or Hadoken, whichever one y'all want to do.
Really got to commit to that shotgun axe idea.
As he slowly backs away and then runs away.
Or maybe just acquaintances.
We got him.
Not quite.
Also, those are lucky shots. He was really close to Lash. He could have gotten shot too.
And then this right here, my heart drops. Well, but what's about to happen? I was like, or at least in a couple right now when we come back from this. And it's funny, it's like, you know, Rosalind was the one that set up, do you even know what you can do? And right now, Daisy's going to say, Coulson's scared, I didn't know you can do that. And she's like, me neither. Even that was perfectly set up too. Like, they literally got in a fight and she saves her. Yeah, those guys are dead. Like that.
That's like the moment she decides, like, I don't think I can save him. Because they're dead.
Thought about my death enough times. The different ways that I could go. I just never thought it'd be you.
May ends up dying a couple of times on the show, to be clear.
Why I gave up on you. I lost something when I left you. I won't do it again.
It's taken a lot for May to say that. Like the whole show.
Fitz, you all right?
Yeah, I think I've, remember this?
Yeah, from the Castle Chamber.
Okay.
I wonder if this is the week where Bobby and Hunter were filming Marvel's Most Wanted. Because this is only like their second scene in the whole episode, I think. Or second or third, but like they're really like just on the bench this week. Just curious.
And if you turn it upside down, they look similar, yeah?
Bit of a stretch, mate.
Okay, well, what if the group who carved this symbol into the chamber door is the same group that sent Will through the portal?
I thought NASA sent Will through.
Could go beyond NASA.
I like how Hunter mentioned it. Like, it's a bit of a stretch, dude, to say that these
It
logos are the
is.
same. I kind of wish he would have added, though. It's like, but isn't it weird that some section of NASA knew how to make a portal to this? Like, even before even they had? And, like, was the monolith even with them at that moment? Like, I think if you kind of question a bit more, it's like, how the heck did he get there, actually?
Yeah.
Then
and I also want to say, I love how they bring this debate back up here. Because you have, you know, Rosalind and Daisy here. About, like, what to do with Andrew. And how the whole thing was, like, do we do gel matrix or do we not?
It's a temporary solution. I think we can all acknowledge that.
And then Daisy kind of comes around a little bit in this instance.
I couldn't sleep. There weren't a lot of windows in the base, and I wanted to
watch the sunrise.
Because, of course, she went how many months? 6 without seeing the sun.
I can't make any promises, but I think I may have found something.
I just love how the people on this show never forget the experiences that the characters have gone through and use every instance to kind of build on that. Because it would have been very easy for any other show to just like have the character be exactly the same as they were before they were stranded on a planet for like half a year.
I thought about settling down in Perthshire. That's in Scotland.
I think that's where they end up living in the last episode with their daughter, if I'm not mistaken. Because I mean, how they're describing it is exactly because we see the show end and they're like in this like Greenland area, Scotland, and like a little
Let's just watch the sunrise.
Oh my god, what an amazing episode, man! I just reminded of like this is really one of my favorite episodes of the show so far. I think very much of this season, but like this is. I feel like every reason why I love this show is on display throughout all this episode. And I think these are actually pivotal episodes for a lot of the main characters. Maybe all of them, honestly.
I'm gonna cut off the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because without Phil Coulson, S.H.I.E.L.D. won't grow back.
It really is a shame so much is going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. because, honestly, if none of that stuff was around, they really should be using all of their resources to take out Ward because he clearly was never going to stop.
Miss Price.
I wanted to apologize for missing our meeting at NORAD. I will bring him to you soon enough.
Time is of the essence.
And then this drops, and you're thinking to yourself, this bitch,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on here? She's working for Hydra?
You can make time for that.
Good.
And it immediately makes you like, oh, fuck you, show. You got me to care about them.
Yeah. But also, too, you kind of have to question it, too. Because she was like, they were supposed to meet with Coulson, but she canceled it. If you think she really was with Hydra, that would have been like her priority, you know? But already they're giving a sense that like,
you are right.
She isn't with Hydra, so that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go into some of our initial reactions here from the Reddit people from 10 years ago. Let's see some of these comments. Okay, how was Lincoln able to tackle Lash when he was unable to do it last time?
Did he tackle him? For sure?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I remember him for sure tackling him, but his powers were still pretty effective against him. So
Yeah. Andrew Garner and Bruce Banner need to have a chat about how they control problems. Christ, the sexual tension between Rosalind and Phil could pick up with an axe. I swear to God, if we don't get a shotgun axe by the finale, I will be one unhappy camper. Well, you called it. Brilliantly done, making Daisy realize that putting Inhumans in stasis isn't necessarily immoral.
actually, what's kind of interesting about them making a cure, you know, Daisy doesn't really like the idea of them being like considered a disease or anything, and that, you know, getting the power is like a gift and all. But she's not really taking into consideration the fact that they were very selective about who gets the powers or not. So it's kind of like, this is sort of the best alternative if we can't control who's going to get the powers or not, you know? So it's like, yes, the powers are a gift, but at the same time, it's like, it's not a gift that everyone should have if they're capable of having them. So that's actually one thing that she should have considered.
Yeah. Daisy saves Rosalind from Lash. Good thing there is a Daisy for every Lash. Throwing Rosalind's words back in her face. That's funny. Oh, and then of course, it didn't occur to me until you pointed it out, but somebody else also had your same thoughts here. Did Lincoln just use a Kamehameha wave? With his lightning powers, which is funny, of course. Damn. Besides in Bahrain, this is the most vulnerable we've ever seen May. I mean, can we just say Ming-Na Wen was incredible this episode? Like, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody was, though. That's the thing. It's Simmons, what do you think we should do about it? Fitz, for now, let's just watch the sunrise. No, you should probably kiss because we're all watching. Someone said. I mean, we're all thinking the same thing, too. And I noticed somebody else said that if Fitz and Simmons don't end up being a thing by the end of the show, then life is meaningless. Which is exactly, I think, how we feel about that, because they're kind of the best. Yeah, that awkward moment when your new girlfriend is in Hydra. Even she is and she's not. That's the thing. Although at this point you're like, but you are meant to like, wait, what?
Yeah, for sure.
And then somebody posted this halfway through. Holy shit. We are only halfway in. What an episode. Because this was like moving so fast and it was giving us so much. This is definitely, I think, a definitive episode of what the show can be best at, honestly. And why so many other shows just fall by the wayside in comparison. Why can't May find happiness? Why can't I make it through a single episode without bawling my eyes out? Fitz, you better stop watching around hour 2500. I don't think you want to see what happens after that. That's cold, man. And then some other people were like, yeah, comparing Lincoln's powers to the Kamehameha wave. So it seems that some people were definitely getting that vibe. I want to see Rosalind Price moderate a presidential debate. Okay. That's funny. That would, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. Iced baby. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, that kid has a dark side? You don't say, Andrew. Of course.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love these comments so much. I mean, people are, and it gives you an immediate sense of like what people were thinking about. I mean, these are fans like you and I watching it and going on Reddit and everything. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see what's the critics' thought. Here's Eric Goldman. Once again, S.H.I.E.L.D. moved very quickly this week as the revelation that Andrew is Lash resulted in an immediate confrontation between the team and their friend turned murderous Inhuman. I must say, I was a bit disappointed to find out that Andrew/Lash was simply driven by a vampiric sort of compulsion to kill other Inhumans rather than any bigger or more complicated purpose that hasn't been revealed yet, though, Eric.
Yeah.
It seemed to be the case earlier this season. Certainly, when he killed Dwight Fry a few episodes back and said, "I'm not merciful, I'm necessary," I felt some bigger agenda was at work than what was revealed this week. Well, I mean, there's more to come. Top of that, by the end of the episode, right, I know. By the end of the episode, Lash was already neutralized. While S.H.I.E.L.D. is to be commended for moving quickly, this seemed a bit too quick. You've got no idea what's coming, Eric. Wrapping up what had been the big threat so far this season just 1 week after a really compelling reveal occurred. Oh, don't get me wrong. There's no doubt he'll be back sooner than later, but it still seemed odd to halt the storyline even temporarily at this point. Those issues aside, there were a lot of good moments here. Ming-Na Wen sometimes has a tricky role as May, playing a character who keeps her emotions closely in check, and did strong work playing a very on-edge May, dealing with finding out the worst thing possible about the man she loved and trying to process it. It was especially strong seeing her in that final moment, nearly about to let down the veil and burst into tears after all that had happened. This was a strong episode for Rosalind, as we see more of her and Coulson's growing rapport, before they really had an off-screen rapport before the episode's end. God, the innuendos. The big reveal at the end that she's dealing with Gideon has to be she doesn't know he is a bad guy, one would think. This episode really reinforced her good intentions, and we directly saw her tell her men to follow Coulson's lead on a mission, without anyone from S.H.I.E.L.D. present, so it wouldn't chart to just say she's a villain now. Okay, her telling Daisy her powers could kill her and Daisy, then using her powers to save her was very on the nose, but still a nice moment. Meanwhile, the Fitz and Simmons storyline had some strong scenes as Fitz was able to access the phone she had with her on the other planet. His anger at seeing Will's photo, followed by his emotion seeing her at her most desperate, beaten down place, was very powerful. Even knowing she'd made it back, we could still feel the power Fitz seeing what was, at the time, essentially her farewell message to him. Ian DeCasticker and Elizabeth Henstridge were also excellent together in the scene where she told him she meant everything she said on those videos, even as they both acknowledged that didn't solve anything about the situation they are in now. After several episodes of being on the run, Lincoln finally decided to stick around here. His rapport with Mac, of all people, is a nice touch, though I do hope Mac gets his own storyline pretty soon. I was also glad to see Joey back again, for the first time since the premiere, and to learn that Lash killing him was only in Andrew's head. With Lincoln now finally under the same roof as S.H.I.E.L.D. and Joey returning, hopefully we're getting closer to the Secret Warriors. Gave it a 7.5 good, which is interesting. I thought this was amazing. And it was good. It was a pretty amazing episode of the series. But I feel like some people are not on the same page as that because Oliver's review is going to be even more downbeat. He gave the episode a C+. His headline is "A Dull Showdown with Lash Highlights, Shield's Style Problem." Despite the considerable improvements Shield has made since its debut, the series has yet to pick up a sense of style. Is that true? I mean, honestly, do you agree with that?
No.
The series has yet to pick up a sense of style.
I think it's... Well, I mean, what do I mean by style, though? Because with any show, the style is the characters. You know, that's the thing that makes every single one of them unique. And I think they've pretty much got it down as to how these characters are, what interactions will bring most interest. So, I don't know. Not really sure what you mean.
The writing, design, and direction are competent, but uninspiring at best, bland and generic at worst, and it sometimes feels like the people behind the scenes are doing the bare minimum to bring these stories to life. I'm going to read that again. Because, and to Oliver's credit, he's enjoyed much of the recent episodes and has given them, you know, their due. But you tell me if this just feels like this came out of nowhere to say, but this is a brutal takedown. It's not even like saying, "Oh, this one element didn't work for me." This is like he's saying the writing, design, and direction are competent, but uninspiring at best, bland and generic at worst. And it sometimes feels like the people behind the scenes are doing the bare minimum to bring these stories to life.
How is it generic if this is the first that we're seeing?
Hold on, David. I have to stop you. I think, actually, I'm going to read it again. The writing, design, and direction are competent, but inspiring at best, bland and generic at worst. And it sometimes feels like the people behind the scenes are doing the bare minimum to bring these stories to life. Oliver, I got to tell you, are you talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or are you talking about the MCU?
That's true.
Competent, but uninspiring at best, bland and generic at worst, sometimes feels like the people behind the scenes are doing the bare minimum. Sorry, go ahead, Dave. Actually, this is just the first two sentences, and I'm already like, I gotta stop. Go ahead.
No, but like it's just so weird saying generic, but it's like it's kind of the first for a show to have this kind of world building, kind of scenarios. So especially for live action, I'm pretty sure some people will say, call out some cartoons or anime, but for a live action show, it's pretty fucking great. But then also kind of weird to say that like the writing's great. I just don't like what exactly. The style or the genre or just the fact that it's just not connected to the MCU. I don't know. That's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know where to go from here. I'm just like, okay. The series has managed to compensate for its stylistic weaknesses by building up character relationships with an ensemble of exceptionally talented performers, but the show could be so much more if it wasn't so committed to mediocrity in those other areas. Wow. We got a glimpse of that better series in 4,722 hours, an episode that made strong creative choices to amplify Simmons' emotional experience. But with Chaos Theory, the show firmly settles back into its middling status quo. The episode delivers some significant developments, but it does so without much imagination. Wrapping up the Lash storyline quickly and efficiently, as it's done with characters like Ward and Jiaying in the past, the show aggressively announces the former ally Andrew Gardner as a threat now by underscoring all his scenes with tense, discordant music and giving him lines with double meanings that other characters don't pick up on, like his warning to Simmons that secrets can eat you up from the inside. Subtlety is written out of Andrew's character in this script, which offers revelations about his Terrigenesis, but fails to adequately address his motivations as the murderous Inhuman Lash. There are cryptic teases when Andrew talks about his moral responsibility to kill Inhumans as it relates to some ominous future event, but withholding key details diminishes the impact of the scenes with his ex-wife May, who shoots she shoots with an icer and chains he shoots her with an icer and chains up after she confronts him. The plot of a woman watching the man she loves turn to a raging beast is a well-trodden territory for Whedon-produced TV series. And S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even try to make this familiar situation unique in any way. By refusing to delve into the specifics of what is driving Andrew's behavior as Lash, LaFranc, the writer, creates a broad conflict for May and Andrew that isn't especially conducive to rich emotional storytelling. And despite the best efforts of Blair Underwood and Ming-Na Wen, the drama between the former spouses falls flat.
I mean, those two had better.
It feels like we're watching different shows.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But also too, those two, they have better chemistry than fucking Daisy and Lincoln. So like already it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Sorry, I'm not gonna mention it. I'm just like, it's, yeah. What's it called? Next, I'm trying to just process this writing. I'm like, okay. The Hawaiian vacation was 6 months before the drama, though, and the flashbacks to Andrew and May enjoying drinks in front of an island sunset are the most effective moments of the episode, largely because of their use of color to create a much different mood from the present-day plot. This show's primary palette is gray, brown, and white, so whenever there's any pop of color, it makes an impression. The warm sunset combined with smaller colored details like the flowers and drinks on the table help make this tropical world feel more alive than the washed-out locations S.H.I.E.L.D. visits this week. As Andrew and May are driven apart, Coulson and Rosalind are brought closer together, increasing the level of collaboration between their organizations and finally engaging in some off-the-clock fraternization after a particularly stressful day. Unfortunately, the more script commits to building the romance, the less creative it becomes. For example, this extremely basic exchange when Rosalind helps Coulson tie his necktie. Rosalind, does it hurt? Coulson, every day. Rosalind, phantom pain. The thing that's missing is the thing that you feel the most. Coulson, makes it hard to forget. It's supposed to be a big moment of vulnerability for the two, but the writing is dull and obvious. The script technically gets the job done because the characters are talking about their weaknesses, but there has to be a way of expressing the same sentiment without hitting such predictable beats. Granted, S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't worried about being predictable. Last episode revealed that one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. allies was actually an enemy in disguise, which has already happened a couple of times before, and tonight's cliffhanger reveals that Coulson's new ally, Rosalind, is actually an enemy in disguise. Rosalind is working with Gideon Malik, the man Ward has promised Coulson's head to, and while we don't know the exact nature of their relationship, I'm going to guess it's not very good.
I mean, I'll give them that the whole, person that's a friend of theirs turning bad, like, fine. Yes, third time in a row, change it up a bit. Fine. The Rosalind part, I mean, that's just gonna have to wait, sadly. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing, though, with both characters. It's like, we're just gonna have to wait, because both of them, well, no, actually, no, never mind. Lash is like, yeah, he's evil towards the end, too. Yes, he does that one good thing with Daisy and all that, but he ends up murdering like every person who turned into an inhuman. So, but with Rosalind, yeah, like I said, I was just gonna have to wait, sadly. So, I'm curious what his reaction would be after.
That was I tell you, I think it was. I guess it's fair, right? If you feel that way,
Yeah.
I thought this episode was pretty amazing. I got to tell you the truth. Like I don't see that at all.
No,
but,
yeah.
Okay.
It's just that thing of they have like very high expectations, and anything lower than that, they think it's boring. But it's so weird, especially the part with the Rosalind and Coulson scene, where I'm like, what did he say exactly? Like, he said generic, but also on the nose.
Yeah, it was a generic
like
line of dialogue and on the nose and all that stuff. It's like, I just feel like, again, like the expectations for what the show should do are so, like off the scales, right? And then especially when you look at the MCU movies that were coming out at this time with like how little they had to do.
Mm-hmm. But then going back with the Rosalind and Coulson thing, what was I gonna say? Like, saying that's too on the nose, but I just so disagree with that.
Yeah.
But the thing also was, when you mean on the nose, it's like, what do you mean by that? Though that's the thing, because the things that they brought up, it just makes sense. Like, when you really think about it, when you look at a scene and you just think it writes itself. Like, it all makes sense. Of course, in this vulnerable moment, Coulson has to put on the suit again for the first time. We're seeing him do that because they had a meeting. It wasn't just out of nowhere. They were going to meet, what did they say? The president. Yeah. They were going to meet the president of the United States. Of course, he's gonna like dress super well. And in that moment, he's still not used to the hand. She helps him out, and again, it just writes itself. Of course, they're gonna have like a heart-to-heart moment. They're getting closer and closer together. They're getting to know one another. They like each other, and in this little moment of, I guess you could say, weakness with Coulson. It's not the right word, but you get what I mean. She tries to help him out, and it just shows like, oh wow, she's a really good person, and that is to build up to when she dies. Again, he doesn't know that at the moment, but these are all very important. And with any show, you just have to wait. That's the one thing that's always annoying with any show, even just shows now where people just get so impatient with TV shows, when they're just like, we want the content now, like the thing that they want now. This is happening with The Last of Us, where for some reason they knew how people who like played the game were somehow impatient about the fact of where this show is going. But it's like, you know the game, you know the story. Why in this one episode you're like, oh, this went nowhere? It's like, you already know where it's going to lead. You should be looking at this like, oh, this, at everything that they set up here makes sense. Cool. It's within the game. Awesome. Can't wait for the next episode. But no, they're just like going, oh, nothing's happening. But like, what the hell are you even talking about? And again, this guy doesn't know what's going to happen next, but you got to kind of take into consideration, like, okay, maybe this can happen. Maybe this can happen. I feel like if this was any other show, they would probably be guessing, oh, Rosalind's going to die, isn't she? I mean, new character, setting up an emotional stake for Coulson. Unless it's confirmed that she's going to be in the second season or next season, she's more than likely going to die. So we'll see. I feel like some people would have guessed that if this was any other show. but because it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. within the MCU, they don't want to put that kind of thought into it. They just want to compare it to the MCU movies. And what is it? Give it a C.
All right, let's go ahead and go to Ami.
No. I was so in love with them. Why would you do this? Ah, God damn it. That was all so cute, so endearing, and they had to go and fuck it up. And then fucking Ward's behind all of this. Of course he is. Well, not behind this aspect. This Hydra dude is. She was talking to him. I don't know who the president is right now. So I'm assuming it was him because it was like, hey, I'll apologize to the president for it. They were meant to go talk to the president, at this meeting. He could have been somebody that was also supposed to have been there as well for this like security council or whatever that was going on. I'm hoping they're both being played. And I guess he's the president? Because I think somebody in the comments had mentioned that he was one of the people in the that Shadow Council or whatever that Nick Fury was talking to in the Avengers, the first one. I don't remember, man. I don't remember. It's been fucking forever since I've seen that movie. So I don't know. We'll wait and find out. But all this stuff with May and Andrew was really, really heartbreaking in this. Like the flashbacks, the revelation to what happened, and just the way it happened, it was just researching stuff that Coulson sent over. Jiang just booby-trapped something so that information would be, only viewed by Inhuman eyes. And, well, that's what happened in the end. I don't know if she would have planned for the Inhuman to wield it to be one that hunts Inhumans. That's kind of ironic. It's just
what I said.
That, like him and that one dude have these abilities that make them unable to be assimilated into the greater whole. Like they become inhuman to not be able to tolerate the existence of other Inhumans, whether it be to prey upon or have this desire to hunt, or like the other guy who just physically cannot be around him. Like they just cause him immense pain to be around other people like him. I don't know. It's just kind of fascinating, and the implications of that, like on an evolutionary scale or on a natural scale, is just kind of interesting to kind of quantify or wonder. I mean, like the one guy, you could maybe see that as like an allergy. Like some people, like we're just born with like genes that make us unable to tolerate certain things. Like things that are supposed to bring, like people with like what is it? There's people that are allergic to water. Like they can't drink water, they get rashes taking baths, and it's not the stuff in the water, it's the water. Like there are people with allergies to things that their body needs, and it's kind of like one of those situations. And much like with the X gene, it's very much so like you can nat one that roll, man, when you're transforming, when it awakens, and just get the world's worst power. And this is like where the revelation that he's still transitioning. So like the more he comes and goes between this, the more his lash form solidifies. Or at least that's what Lincoln was saying. That's like that Inhumans can't just transform back and forth. If he's doing that right now, he's still in that transitionary period. If, let's say, Reyna was in a similar position, she'd go back from her human form to her spiky form, back and forth until eventually solidifying in her spiky form. So the more he does this, the more he lashes out. I love how he settled on the name. It was kind of funny. I like it, though. It's fitting given the nature of his thing. But, like, he says he's got, like, this hunger. So is he, like, consuming them? I mean, he's chest pulsing their guts out, just exploding their torso. But does he take something away from that? Or is it just this uncontrollable desire to kill that he's trying to satiate that desire, that instinct? Because that's what he brought up. It's very instinctual what he's got. So it's almost as if he's an Inhuman who is born to prey upon other Inhumans. So he has this like predatory hunger, but as a psychologist, he's trying to like justify it. He's here to weigh the good ones from the bad ones, to sort them out, to sift them out. And this is his way of helping the world, helping Coulson, helping these people who he's trying to pass judgment on. It's like, hey, if they're not going to be beneficial to society, that's why he's like, when he was talking to Joey, he was almost trying to like goad him towards certain directions that would allow him to justify taking him out. I mean, we know he wanted to. We got that little glimpse of his mind just jumping to those intrusive thoughts where he's just like, they tried to fake us out with him just out of nowhere, just gut punching him in the middle of their session. And then we come back to reality and that's just what he was thinking. Like, it's just like we're showing that he's trying to like steer the conversation in that way. So like, even when Joey's not meaning thing in any kind of malicious way, he's trying to like spin it that way because he needs to justify his urges. I don't know. It's just the whole thing about it is just so tragic, and so just the way that this ability has tainted his clinical objectivity as a psychologist and his ability to, one, be able to see what exactly he's doing when May can see it, everybody else can kind of see it, and I don't know. Then the performance of this episode was just so really well done. The way May went about this, the investigation, the way everybody else figured this out, and the way Lincoln was able to piece together how this person was hunting them after enough kind of intel and investigation on his part and found out that they were within S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything just kind of came together. On top of this, like, what's the right way to handle this approach? Like, in this situation, Daisy's stance to Rosalind's stance, and then the way they kind of leveled out in the beginning, they met each other eye to eye. God damn it, coming back to that, I really hope she's not aware that she is playing Coulson. Like, that she thinks she's genuinely talking to somebody who is not using her to get to Coulson. So I hope that she's just a middle person in this whole thing who's just kind of being puppeteered around. And I so hope that she's not willfully playing Coulson along, because they're so cute. I mean, I feel like this is going to end in tragedy no matter what, because our team's not really allowed to be happy ever, let alone Coulson. So, like, the way they're building out this relationship, honestly, I thought for a second that, like, Daisy would see her point in this episode at the expense of her life being taken by Lash. So when she fell or was dropped, I'm honestly surprised he didn't just, like, explode her chest. And I wonder if that power only works on Inhumans. But no, he was about to do it to Mac, so guess not. But I don't know. So, like, I'm just wondering how that's all going to play out, considering, because that's kind of what I was expecting to happen in the moment there, was that, you know, she was going to die putting her neck out for these people, and now it would allow Daisy to see her point. But I think in this experience, they were both able to see each other's points. That's another reason I don't want this to be tainted, because it's just going to further exacerbate these tensions around powered people and Inhumans and stuff like that, and our team. You know, if things come out to be where she's just willfully antagonistic, and it's all been a play, because then it's just going to cause our people even more trust issues than they already have. And then Fitz, you know, going through Gemma's logs, hearing her talk end on end and end about him and them, you know, until finally realizing that after a while she just resigned herself to being trapped there, and because of that, she settled for the closest thing that could bring her some kind of affection or comfort, and that was Will. And now they're in this really rocky spot where they still have these feelings. And I don't think Gemma, like, even in those moments, I don't think even Gemma, while with Will, ever stopped caring about Fitz in that way. It's just she kind of had to be a little realistic in the moment about what was happening and the likelihood of the outcomes that she was allotted, the options that she was allotted. So, like, I don't know. And right now, this was like, hey, man, it's complicated. I understand. Let's just enjoy the sunrise together. I liked that. It was a sweet little moment, how emotional he got, like going through her logs and then getting that clue that this organization that we saw in that flashback in the 1800s or whatever that was, and that we're sending the people through that portal with their little underground cult, has just kind of still exists and just changed shape and was the same group who, like Will said, it was like they knew something more about this, so they had to have had some idea about it, which means they've just continued to study it all these years and just become this, like, extension of NASA or whatever that they were using to explore these unknown reaches of space. And he was part of that. not knowingly, but part of that. So begs the question, what's about there on that planet to begin with? But we're making some headway, man. Really, really great episode.
So yeah, that's kind of where we are. Any thoughts on Ami's comments? Any closing thoughts on the episode that we just watched, Chaos Theory, David?
No, I mean, I think we said everything, even during the episode. This was really, really good. I absolutely love the writing. Just keep it going, man. It's so good. And yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. So I want to thank everybody who tuned in and watched this time, and leave any comments down below. I do want to hear from some of our followers if I'm correct in assuming that house, Scottish house, whatever that, Gemma had mentioned, if that is in fact where they end up living at the end of the series. I suspect that's kind of the case, but I don't know if there's anything definitive on that. But yeah. And also, what are your thoughts on Chaos Theory? And then also, do you feel that Oliver Sava in this week's review was particularly fair in his analysis of this episode? Maybe you guys feel like we are overhyping this episode too much. I think I legitimately loved it. So I guess we'll see where we are, especially because, of course, there are mixed feelings when it comes to this season. So that being said, if you're looking for more superhero content, David and I are going to watch Superman very, very soon, and we're going to have a review of that on this channel pretty soon as well. So stay tuned for that, and of course, come back on here next week for more S.H.I.E.L.D. reactions. We'll see you guys next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.